everybody, Uncle Pip here, and welcome back to the travel edition of Pip's Plans. You might notice there's some scenery behind me. We're in the Hürtgen, and this is Sunday. We stayed in the town of Heze on Saturday night into Sunday morning, and this is the town of Heze as we're leaving. We went to the town of Best, Netherlands, first to visit Lieutenant Colonel Robert G. Cole's memorial. This is the area where he was killed in action during the war. Now we're currently driving west, and the town of Best is in front of us, and we're just about in the middle of where the original landing area was for the 101st Airborne Division during Operation Market Garden, which of course was September 17th of 1944. Paratroopers landed to our right, and what we're about to do here in the car is do a U-turn and go back the way we had came, so you'll be able to see both sides of the road, I think, quite well, which is the whole purpose of doing this. But the paratroopers had landed. Here's us doing our U-turn right now. So now the paratroopers had landed to our left. The 502nd went across the street, and the main battlefield for them in the Battle of Best is to our right, is where we're kind of, the camera's focused right now around the area that the actual battle was occurring. Again, the landings were to our left, and the area here in front of us and to the right is where the battlefield was for the 502nd. If you want to learn more about the history, there's a lot of stuff on the internet. I'm sure you can find stuff. We ultimately went back, got on the main road, drove around. This is the canal. Best, again, is directly behind us, and we're going to approach the area where the 502nd was right now. This memorial, or monument, is dedicated to Joe Mann, who was killed in action right here as well. Of course, both of these gentlemen that we're talking about so far were recipients of the Medal of Honor, or the highest medal in the United States military. Joe Mann received his Medal of Honor for his actions here on September 19th of 1944 in the Battle of Best. Mr. Cole's Medal of Honor was received for his service during fighting earlier in the war. But anyway, here we are walking through the actual battlefield of the town of Best. It was not like a town battle of fighting like street fighting. This is where the 502nd was taking their positions, and there's a clearing here. To my understanding, Headquarters Company was supposed to be taking positions around this clearing, and we're currently walking up towards a hedgerow. I also want to give a little background information. I have interviewed several 101st Airborne Division paratroopers. One of them I was very close to. He was in Headquarters Company of the 502nd. So to be here where the 502nd 101st actually was, to me, was very exciting and very humbling, because I know the veteran that actually served in the battle that was right here. I also had a good friend of mine who was in the 506th Headquarters Company, and that's why I'm trying to point out both of those regiments as well as Headquarters Company specifically, because those are the two veterans that I was closest to. Now, as I'm narrating, you might hear my cat in the background. I'm sorry about that. There's a hedgerow here, and we're kind of pointing to it. This hedgerow came up in discussions with the veteran from the 502nd. He had actually remembered this hedgerow and had told me stories about it. So the fact that we were able to walk around the battlefield and find it right next to where he was supposed to have been, it honestly surprised me. I'm not gonna lie. I did not expect it. Even though I should have, I knew to expect it, I still didn't expect it. So that was huge to me. This right here made the entire trip worth it. If anything else, this was worth it just to see this. Now I'm going to go ahead and jump forward. This is all in the morning. Right after this, we went back to Overloon to see the military event again with the German armor driving around. I did not record anything while at Overloon the second time, because it's mostly the same thing that you saw the first time, so there wasn't a whole lot of reason for me to want to record the same thing again. So I wanted to keep the variety going, and honestly, just to keep this video for today showing this battlefield, that's cool to me. Now, once we leave the battlefield, I said we went to Overloon. That's actually a mistake. I want to correct myself. Once we left here, we actually went straight to St. Oedenrode, and then we left St. Oedenrode to go to Overloon. Why is that important? I will explain that once the video gets to St. Oedenrode. Right now, we're walking the path. We're going back through the battlefield at best, and we're about to leave. And there's the Joe Man monument, and again one last look at the canal. And now we're heading back to St. Oedenrode. I didn't record a whole lot of this. It was driving back through the landing zones again. It's a lot of open ground like what you see right here, and a lot of farmland, very quiet. It's a very peaceful area, and I really did enjoy being there. But again, more farmland, as you can see. That is the welcome sign to St. Oedenrode. Now we're driving through the big town. And what's exciting and interesting, we drove through this town probably 3 times. Now you might be wondering why we went here in the first place. Well, we have one specific place we're trying to go, and that is a castle. But not just any castle. We're trying to find this castle. This was used as the actual headquarters for the 101st Airborne Division during this entire operation. Now, from my understanding, and please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, I do believe this castle is now privately owned, and whoever owns it now rents it out as an event venue, so you could have a wedding there, or just enjoy a party there, or whatever. But because it's private property, we did not go inside it. We didn't go up past the moat. It actually has a moat, and that moat goes the whole way around, so that's pretty cool. But there is like a public park next to it with the walking trail around, so you can still see it from the outside, which is what we're walking on. Now, we went to Overloon. Once we left Overloon, we went to the town of Düren, Germany. We left Düren. We only went there to check into our hotel. Once we left our hotel, we started driving west, and we went through the town of Hürtgen. To me, I didn't understand this. The town of Hürtgen is actually very small. In American history, we always read about the Hürtgen Forest. And the Hürtgen Forest was a terrible battle, and that's why I wanted to go see Hürtgen. Well, my cousin told me he wants to go to Vossenack. So this museum that you're seeing us walk through right now, this is the museum in Vossenack. Vossenack is right next to Hürtgen. Both are extremely small towns. And this is where a lot of the fighting took place in the woods around these towns. And I also had a good friend of mine who served in the 1st Division during World War II, and he told me about the Hürtgen Forest. He always told me that he was in Hürtgen, the Battle of Hürtgen. So that's why, to me, Hürtgen was very important to see. So once we got finished walking around the museum, I started talking to one of the battlefield tour guides. We did not have enough time and the museum was closing, so I didn't get to go through an actual tour of like a guided tour of the battlefield. But talking to this guy, he was super nice, very intelligent, and very helpful. He has given me a lot of information since I've left. But I told him I wanted to go where Company B of the 26th Regiment, 1st Division fought. And he said, "You want to go to Schevenhütte." And he told me up front, Schevenhütte, he wasn't sure exactly where the Company B was off the top of his head, but to go there. Now at this point, it is getting late. It's after 5 o'clock. A lot of places are closing. We haven't had anything to eat. But we got right in the car and we left Vossenack, drove through Hürtgen, and we were trying to get ourselves to Schevenhütte just to see the town that we know for a fact the 1st Division was definitely in during World War II. This museum had a lot of maps, a lot of papers, and a lot of stuff to read. We only spent an hour here, and it really wasn't enough time if you wanted to read everything. But for us, we didn't read everything. We were intentionally just looking at the stuff. We have an understanding what we're doing, and it worked well for us. But next time I go back, I probably am going to spend more time in this museum. And again, that is in Vossenack. And of course, here I am looking at a Jeep. Because what else do you do when you're in Europe? Now here's some uniforms, stuff like that. Again, a lot of it was under glass. I think a lot of this stuff was donated by the families as well as by the veterans themselves to really get this museum something neat to look at. So I think it is interesting. There were a lot of veterans that did come back to Vossenack to want to be honored and want to be remembered. So that it's quite interesting, and I am glad to see a lot of American stuff there. This M1 Garand was found in the battlefield. I thought that was really cool. Another thing I forgot to mention, we stopped, once we left here, we actually went through Hürtgen again. And we were going to the official German National Cemetery just outside of Hürtgen. So this is us leaving Vossenack, and we are on our way to the National Cemetery first. And we are currently heading north on this trip. I believe that's right. But anyway, we stopped at that cemetery, and I didn't feel it to be appropriate for me to want to put the cemetery in this video. But we did pay our respects. And once we left the cemetery, we went to Schevenhütte. But again, for anybody from America that wants to know what Hürtgen looks like, you are currently looking at it. And all of the wooded areas that you see around here is the Hürtgen forest, which really surprised me. I didn't really know what to expect with what the Hürtgen forest would look like. That's the Hürtgen sign saying "Welcome to Hürtgen." And don't quote me on this one. I think it was the 28th Division was in this area, and the 1st Division was in the area that we're about to go to. But this town was like right on the border between the 28th and the 1st. I think it was the 28th that was here. But a lot of veterans always talked about being in Hürtgen, and they were referring to it as a forest, not as a town. Because as you can tell, this is a very small town. Not all the veterans were at that town, but they were in the forest. And now that we've driven through Hürtgen twice, actually 3 times technically, I think, that's when we decided to head further west. We had to go north and then west to be able to get to Schevenhütte. And we took a road, it was kind of right through the forest. And I think you'll be seeing that here momentarily. But again, these are just some beautiful scenes. It's such a peaceful area. And here we are, like I said, we're just driving through a lot of real nice area, a lot of nice people, quiet, peaceful. My high recommendation for anybody going here is plan your trip accordingly. Go to Vossenack first. Ask for a tour guide, and try to learn as much as you can from them. And now we're trying to find the town of Schevenhütte. Now also another thing to keep in mind for our trip. Originally, it was only supposed to be a trip for the Overloon event itself. Everything else that we did after that was a bonus. And here we are in Hürtgen. Since this trip, I have found original photographs of this church that we're about to approach right now. That's the church I've seen original pictures of, and the First Division being right here. This is where we actually stopped and turned around. Had we have gone further north, we would have gone further into where Company B was. But we didn't have time, and at the time we didn't even know that's where it was. But we're on the very outskirts of where the First Division was. We are right about where my friend had served. All of these buildings were there during the war. Some of them completely destroyed, some of them not. So that was interesting. But now we're heading south, and we're leaving back south, and we're leaving Company B of the 26th 1st Division. And my cousin is driving. He knows this area better than I do, and I wasn't paying attention to how far south we had gone, nor did I know modern politics that was here. But you can see the scenery, and it's a lot of hills and valleys and mountains. I honestly didn't expect that. That was all new to me. Now where we're going, I'm going to give you the spoiler. This is where the lake is. This is just outside of the town of Schevenhütte, and we're passing a ravine right now. And this is the parking area to get to the walking trail that'll walk you up to the lake. This is a man-made dam that we're standing on, and this was built sometime, I believe, in the 1970s. So this is actually relatively new, and as you look at the lake, that's looking south. So everything right now is south. That was further into the 28th Division's area of operations. Once we finished this walk, we got back to the car, we drove east back to Düren. We got something to eat. Side story, Düren is in Germany. We ordered German beer. My cousin and I ended up drinking all of the German beer at a German bar in Germany. That was a fun time. And now for on the record, that means we drank a total of 3 beers between us both. And this was the end of our day. Hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making it. Stay tuned, there's more to come.